Hey, good evening. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about history and how it goes with today. We're going to talk about fancy girls. So this was a term used during slavery, and it probably didn't mean what you think it meant. It was not a compliment, it was actually a sales category. In the 1800s, especially in places like New Orleans, enslaved people were sold in groups: field workers, house workers, and then there was a category called fancy. Slave trader Isaac Franklin wrote in his own letters about the great demand for fancy maids. He talked about selling a fancy girl for a higher price. This was business. Solomon Northup, in 12 Years a Slave, described traders calling young girls an extra handsome fancy piece. A piece. That's how she was described. Not as a child, but as a product. Louisa Picquet, who was sold as a teenager, testified that at an auction, men came to examine her. They tried to remove her clothing for this inspection, and she fought to keep her dress on. But after she was purchased, the man told her why he bought her. She later confirmed that she had had children that were his. That's what fancy girl meant: being sold for sexual exploitation. Harriet Jacobs wrote that the slave girl is reared in an atmosphere of licentiousness and fear. She was pursued from adolescence by her enslaver and hid in an attic for 7 years to avoid sexual control. 7 years, because the law gave her no protection. And here's the part that people don't understand. Under slavery, children followed the condition of the mother. So if an enslaved girl was assaulted and had a baby, that baby became enslaved too, which meant the system made money off of her body and her children. That's why the fancy category existed. It was trafficking when trafficking was legal. William Craft, who escaped slavery with his wife Ellen, wrote that the more beautiful and virtuous the girl was, the greater the price they brought. He explained that any man with money could purchase a girl and force her into sexual submission because the law allowed it. I'm telling you this because trafficking didn't start in the 21st century. It was normalized once, it was priced once, it was advertised, and today exploitation still exists. So tonight I want to invite you to learn about my organization called Quest Rescue. Quest Rescue is an anti-human trafficking nonprofit. And of course we help anyone, but we also know something that this country struggles to admit: that our so-called Black Indigenous children, our Indigenous women, they're not always given the same urgency when they go missing. They don't always get the same headlines, the same manpower, the same pressure. So we make sure they get it. We patrol trafficking hotspots, and we work missing persons cases, and we stay when others move on. Because predators depend on silence and certain communities being treated the way they are. So, when the Epstein case and the court records became public, people were shocked by the scale of exploitation tied to wealth and power. But history already showed us this pattern. Patterns that protect the elite. Power protects itself. Money creates access. Networks enable abuse. The names change, the method evolves, but exploitation thrives where influence shields accountability. When you study fancy girls and then look at trafficking networks today, you realize something. There's still a lot of work to do, and we can't do it without your support. So if you believe that no child should ever be priced, marketed, or ignored, go learn about Quest Rescue. Follow us on TikTok. Go visit our website, www.questrescue.org. And if you'd like to support our mission, hit our Cash App right here on the screen. The fancy girl trade was trafficking when it was legal. Trafficking today is the same evil wearing a different suit. And yet, we look away. Join me and stop looking away. Start standing with us and doing something about it. Because if we don't, who will? Have a nice night.